Hi, welcome back to Camp K9. It's the 1st of June and I'm just about to do my May tour of the garden, so apologies for it being a little late. I'm going to take you around bed by bed. So this is my bed number 1, and earlier on this year this was planted with beet radishes. This is the last of the radishes that are waiting to be harvested. This bed for the summer will be used for aubergine and cucumbers, which are just acclimatizing to being outdoors, and hopefully some peppers. It's my first time doing aubergine. I have no idea how much space they're going to take up, and my cucumbers have failed once already, and this lot are a little reluctant to grow, so I'm not quite sure how well this is going to go. Now I've just duplicated this here in beds 1, 2 and in bed 3, and each of those beds the radishes are at different stages. I've also intermingled some country garden flowers in amongst the beds as well, so hopefully we should have some colour in there, as well as some vegetables. This is my year 2 asparagus here, if you can see this. So next year we should have some asparagus off of there. Take you on to my beds 4 and 5. These ones have got my melons in them. Again, very first time of growing melons, so I have no idea if they're going to go well at all or not. I have to say they're not growing very fast. Maybe it's just not warm enough yet. Maybe that's what it is. And again, I have planted along the back some flowers to add some colour, and along the front have been seeded, not yet coming up, some spring onions. The onions to keep away any pests from my melons, that's the idea. Beds 6 and 7 here have got courgettes in them. Yellow courgettes, golden grill, and black beauties in this one here. They also have flowers planted, and as you can see again some spring onions along here. Hopefully keep the aphids off of them, or the squash bugs, or whatever the pest is for the courgettes. I can't remember. My main problem with courgettes in the past has been powdery mildew. I have overplanted this year with my courgettes because I am not going to go through what I went through last year. The powdery mildew took out my entire lot just because I was trying to save one plant. If one plant gets it this year, it's out of there. I am not going to risk the rest of my vegetables. So those are my crate beds. These are my boat beds here and here. Now, as you can see, I've started building the base bed to this boat. I am just waiting for the stone to turn up for this. It's an expensive project. I have to do it step by step. But I think this one's looking quite cool. It's coming along. I'm really pleased with it. So the boats have got my tomatoes in them. I don't know how many of you know I have an intolerance to tomatoes, so I don't know whether that's all tomatoes or whether it's different species of tomatoes. I might have more luck with them, or it might just be that using certain species to build up my tolerance might get me back onto tomatoes again. So I have got some hundreds and thousands, some little I am not going to remember the names right now, some little yellow ones, some little white ones, and some big beefsteak tomatoes. On this boat I've got the same. I've got little hundreds and thousands, little yellow, and these ones are my voluntary. So these ones somehow managed to make it through a whole winter hidden in a pot that I had, and they are well ahead of the others. They've got little tomatoes on them already, so they're doing quite well, but they're looking a bit spindly, I have to say. Over here we've got our beef steak as well. It's amazing the difference between the beef steak on this side, so you can kind of see the size and strength of this little beef steak here, and then compare it to this little guy here. They were both planted at the same time. They're not that far apart, so sun-wise they're getting pretty much the same. Soil, they've got exactly the same in each boat. Water, they should be getting exactly the same amount of water. There's one difference. The ones that are in this bed, the little ones, got planted directly into the ground, and the ones on this side had the egg put in the bottom of the planting spot first. So that was a little tip I picked up from Jess at Roots and Refuge, and I can't say that there's been a huge difference with the tomatoes up at the top so far, but for the beefsteak, yeah, there's a huge difference. Definitely made a difference. So nice little tip there. As with all my plants in this area of the garden, I have intermingled my vegetables with my flowers. So on this side I have some lobelia, hopefully trailing lobelia. I may have made a mistake on one set that I bought. They may not have been trailing. But on the inner edges of both boats here and here, I have got lobelia with basil growing between it, and on the other side I've just got flowers. I can't remember, to tell you the truth, what I planted here, but I have lobelia and other flowers edging, and more garden flowers in between. And then I have some coriander here, but it looks like it's going to flower. Over on this side I have some more coriander, and then some of this coriander which really intrigued me, and all of these down here are just flowers, and all down here. And then I've got my chives down there. I did want to plant my garlic in with my tomatoes. That had been the plan, plant the garlic in with the tomatoes, but I completely missed the plot with the timing for planting my garlic, so no garlic this year. So I won't quite be planting all the things. I do have, again, some seeds planted for spring onion in with my tomatoes to hopefully, along with the basil and the coriander, keep the aphids off my tomatoes, if they can grow up as fast as the tomatoes are doing. In between my pallet crate beds here, I have my tubs, the first two of my tub plants, which have got my little baby corn in them, and I'll take you around the rest of my tub plants. So it's a bit challenging to show you these at a good angle. Let me start from the beginning of the story. I ran out of raised beds and I had too many plants, and so I thought, what's a cheap raised bed? And I saw some straw bale beds being made, and I thought, that's cheap, I can do that, that'll work. So I put my straw bales in, and then I planted, I liquid fertilized them, and then I planted some squash all the way along this row. Oh, did you get that? All the way along this row here. Anyway, it looked like they were failing. It looked like they were dying. They pretty much looked like this. If they didn't look like that, then they looked a bit like this. They really weren't doing very well at all. So I thought, oh, I've mucked up. It's not going to work. So I decided that I would go and get some buckets, and I would put the buckets on top of the straw bales, and I would just grow them as further off the ground. So we have this row here on this side of the gate, and these are, I've got absolutely tons of butternut squash. So every other one is a butternut squash, and every other one is something like a patty pan or a yellow bird. And then on this side, morning, hi Sims. And this side I've got honey boat that's been recently planted in here, and again butternut squash. I'm not quite sure what other squashes I've got. So morning baby. That was another reason why my squashes didn't do well on the straw bales. The cats and the dogs. So the cats would jump over the fence and land on the squash, and the dogs would jump up onto the straw bales to greet people the other side of the fence, and they were getting squashed left, right and centre. My squashes were getting squashed. It was not fun. And I went into panic every time it happened. So I thought this can't be right. Being in the garden is meant to be nice and soothing and relaxing. I'm not meant to be going into a panic every 5 minutes. So I just decided that they were safer in the buckets. So I went with the buckets. Then all of a sudden this week, this couple of discoveries. This one here that was planted in the bale, I just added a little bit of soil to give it a little bit of stability in the top, and as a result, the straw decided that it was going to plant itself or grow itself. Anyway, this, I digress. This squash here that looked so measly before is now up on the fence and having a real climb of it. So I'm quite amazed by that. They do like to grow these things, don't they? And then on this one here, which is also planted in, we have a little baby squash, a little baby pumpkin in this case. So I'm really quite impressed with how my squashes are doing. Again, this is a new one for me this year. I've not planted squashes before. I've not done straw bale planting before. Sims just wants a bit of a fuss. So yeah, I have not done Morning Glory before, and I pretty much killed it. Just a little glance of my poorly. Yes, I really didn't do a very good job of that. But even so, it's still producing some beautiful flowers. It will prevail, won't it? Okay, where should I take you next? Okay, so while I'm still on this side of the garden, I'll take you through my fruit trees. So this was more probably inspired by Justin, I reckon, with tons of wood chips that I managed to obtain via some lovely tree surgeons that dumped it on my drive for me. I was going to make a food forest, a foods forest. I'm not quite sure what to call it. I haven't had the confidence to plant my trees and my fruit bushes directly into the ground, which was the idea. So the idea was to have the different layers, and I would have my lovely big old apple tree here, and then I would have the smaller trees and bushes planted underneath it. That's the plan. Actually, that's not a bad view. There we go. So there. I don't look so freaky now. Anyway, I did not get enough confidence to be able to do that. So my trees, my fruit trees and my fruit bushes have been put into pots as well. And until I'm exactly sure where they're going to go, I'm just going to keep shuffling them around. So what have I got in my pots? This is my medlar. So I had no intentions of getting a medlar. It was just that I was really excited to start getting my fruit trees, and the first place I came across the first weekend, the last place I came across on the first weekend, had this beautiful tree here, and so I was so desperate, and I hadn't found anything else that I liked. I just decided, yeah, this is going to be my first fruit tree in my garden. I have no idea what the fruit tastes like, so I'm hoping we'll find that out later on this year. My next fruit tree that I bought was the cherry, and you can see how well that's doing. It's only a youngster, and look at all these cherries that it's got on there. I'm really quite impressed. I'm sure you're less impressed with my video skills. So yeah, this beautiful little cherry, she's doing very well. And then the next one I bought was the plum. And this is my plum, and I am so pleased, so incredibly pleased. She's now got leaves on her for quite some time. I thought I'd bought a stick. I planted it into its pot, and it just lay dormant for so long, and I thought I've killed it. I really have. And then finally the leaves started to sprout, and I was so pleased. So I think she was just recovering from being transplanted, but she's beginning to come to life now, which is wonderful. This wonderful tree here, again, it's only a youngster, but it's not bad. This is a fig tree. So I was dying to have a fig tree in the garden, but they can grow to a massive size. So again, having this one pot bound will keep it into a decent size for me to be able to harvest from, because I'm a short ass. So I've only just picked this up this week, so she's still waiting to be planted into her new pot and found a definite home. This little guy is also my addition from this week. She is a little kiwi fruit. I've been told they're vigorous growers, so when I get her into her proper place, I'm hoping she's going to take off as a climber and produce loads of kiwi fruit for me. I do hope so.